What's up, inspiring gamers? Mafia 2 Definitive Edition was recently released. The experience of playing it through again this time is still as refreshing and intense as 10 years ago. This time, I played with a new focus of extracting business lessons from the Mafia life. In this video, I would like to share some of my learnings from our main character, Vito Scaletta, that could help motivate you on your own journey to success. If you like the idea of mixing badass video game mobster with real-life lessons, maybe subscribe. The main difference between the most influential entrepreneurs such as Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and the most notorious gangsters such as Mickey Cohen, Frank Lucas, and Vito Scaletta is that these gangsters killed people and broke the law, and those entrepreneurs didn't. The reason why a lot of real-life entrepreneurs are drawn to mafia and gangster movies is that the business world shares a lot of rules and principles with the gangster world. Perhaps the most important rule they share is this one: to have the balls to break the rules. I'm not saying that it is okay to kill someone and break the law. My point is that our society's definition of normal often leads us to the path of mediocrity, where life isn't too good or too bad either. Vito in 1940s already decided that he won't conform to the standard of everyone else. From his childhood, he watched his father work himself into an early grave and realized that the life within the rules wasn't for him. Upon Vito's return from deployment in Sicily at the end of World War II, his mama wanted him to find some honest work as a hard labor in the docks, following the footsteps of his father. Fortunately, he wasn't a good boy and didn't listen to her mama, or there would be no mafia story for us to play. Personally, I was also passed on a lot of the outdated and conventional poverty mindsets from my family. Go to school and get good grade. Don't try anything risky. Be content with the 9-to-5 job security and work hard to prove yourself as a great employee. Fuck that shit. The rules of our system wants us to stay as an employee so that we can keep working for them and stay as a cog in their wheel and never be able to realize our own dreams. While Vito started also as a cog in the wheel of the mafia, he was determined to get big and be somebody with power. This inevitably required him to break some of the rules set within the Falcone family. As in life, while it is important and necessary to respect traditions and follow rules, we must also constantly adjust to the change of the times and keep questioning if those rules are still valid today, so that we don't become too rigid and chained by unnecessary doctrines. To move higher, we must be free from the old ways of doing things and be bold enough to break some rules.
What do I gotta say? That's what I gotta say.
You only live once, so do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream.
Vito was born in Sicily in 1925 into a very poor family. At the age of 7, his father decided to move the family to America to start a new life. Sadly, even in Empire Bay, they could not escape poverty. Growing up in desperation, Vito had acquired a high level of resilience, an important quality that would later allow him to survive the rough and tumble life in Mafia. Partnering up with his best friend, Joe Barbaro,
The working man's a sucker, that's for damn sure.
You said it.
he started his criminal life committing petty crimes. Vito was first arrested in 1943 at the height of World War II. He was given a choice of either going to jail or joining the US Army. He chose the Army. It was a decision that turned him from a position of being a despised criminal into a war hero. During his deployment, he learned how to shoot and kill enemies, which gave him a massive advantage over the rival gangs in the Mafia. Vito was assigned his first job in the Clemente family to steal gas stamps in the Office of Price Administration. While the robbery was successful, the stamps expired at midnight and Vito had to rush to sell them off in the gas stations. Not being discreet enough, one of the buyers snitched on him and he got arrested once again. This time, he was sentenced to 10 years in the pen. During his jail time, however, he did not waste a single day. Instead, he proved himself as a fearless fighter and got the attention of Leo Galante, a powerful member of the Vinci crime family. Seeing Vito as promising and useful, Leo took him under his wing and taught him the art of boxing and how the business of the Mafia works. They formed a close bond. Leo even arranged Vito's early release from prison in 1951. Vito's fighting mentality turned the apparent adversity of his jail time into an enormous opportunity in his mind. Standing back up once again, Vito was even more determined to hustle and grind up the ranks in the Mafia.
Keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So, keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
Both Vito Scaletta in Mafia 2 and Denzel Washington in American Gangster share this philosophy which made them so inspiring and respectable, despite the fact that they were actually the bad guys.
You might wonder why I'd take this risk again after spending almost 7 years in the can. You see, where I grew up, the only guys who mattered were the guys who had the balls to take what they wanted. And after years of doing everybody else's dirty work, I was willing to risk anything to finally be somebody.
So you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody, or you ain't nobody.
Whether you are an aspiring entrepreneur or a wannabe somebody someplace in the world, you must get comfortable in taking risk and consistently make sacrifices and commitments that 90% of the people are unwilling to make. Do whatever it takes to become that somebody you wanted to become in your dreams. Chasing after the lure of comfort only makes us soft and easily falling into the trap of becoming another nobody the gangsters were talking about. There is no other shortcut, and the easy road most likely leads to the dead end, resulting in regrets that will haunt you towards the end of your life. Remember, we only get one shot in this game of life. Even in the real world today, maybe none of us are in the Mafia. But growing some balls and toughening up your guts in order to take more risk is not such a bad idea.
I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Because taking risk is not just about going for a job. It's also about knowing what you know and what you don't know. It's about being open to people and to ideas. The chances you take, the people you meet, the people you love, the faith that you have, that's what's going to define you. Never be discouraged. Never hold back. Give everything you got. And when you fall throughout life, remember this: fall forward.
Joe Barbaro was Vito's best friend. Over the years, they had made a good team moving up the criminal ladder. Joe had grown up as a loudmouth bully. He was a bit unstable emotionally and could make trouble out of anything. He was also a man who lived big and indulged in all kinds of vices, getting drunk on booze, speeding in fancy cars, and partying with hookers all night long. On the other hand, Vito was much more rational and pragmatic. He wasn't really chasing after the pleasures and perks that comes with the Mafia life. His focus was on getting the job done with ruthless efficiency and achieving his goals and dreams. In the process, he had to constantly keep an eye on Joe and get him out of trouble. After the room service mission, Joe was really depressed, blaming himself for unnecessarily getting his friend Marty killed in a job. He got really drunk in a bar and started waving his 911 around. The bartender called Vito to pick up Joe. He arrived late after midnight when the bar was closed. Joe accidentally shot the bartender dead while he was mumbling and wavering his pistol half awake. leaving Vito to do the dirty work of getting rid of his body. Even when he was sober, Joe would often act on his anger and impulse without much planning before execution. He would be long dead already if Vito wasn't always saving his ass. You might think getting mad, showing anger and rage seems badass, tough, or masculine. But those emotions actually makes you weak. Depending on the situation, it might even be a setup the enemy had laid for you.
You got locked up because you're a stupid, crazy fuck.
A cold, calm expression is sometimes far more terrifying than a crazy emotional outburst. Strength is the ability to keep a hold of yourself and staying in control of your emotions, channeling your anger to use as a motivating and productive force. On the other hand, being controlled by emotions means you have lost control. That's a sign of weakness.
Look at me. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. I told you that.
One of the missions in Mafia 2 was called Murphy's Law. It was a saying that means anything that can go wrong will go wrong. The plan for that mission was for Vito and Joe to rob a jewel store by sneaking into the mall after dark as phone company employees. Following their plan later that night, they proceeded to rob the store. But as they were finishing the job, Brian O'Neill and his gang rammed his van through the window intending to rob the place too. What a perfect timing. From now on, things start to go wrong. The two groups begin shooting at each other while the cops are also showing up. Everyone scatters and tries to get away. Fortunately, Vito and Joe had balls to take risk. They climbed up to the roof and walked on the ledge of the mall's signboard, crossing over to the roof of the next building, barely escaping the cops while seeing O'Neill being arrested. There were many more moments in Mafia 2 that involved unexpected and nasty surprises, with things got ugly. But without those things go wrong moments in the story, it wouldn't be a fun or exciting Mafia game for us to play. In real life, if any person wants to achieve anything worthwhile, he needs to decide to take on the hero's journey. Along with it comes many trials and errors. Often things can go wrong that leads to failures. Most people never even start their own adventure because of their fear of all the possible things that can go wrong. Things that are in the realm of the unknown. But it is not impossible to turn something that sounds so pessimistic and negative as the Murphy's Law into a positive mindset. That is, to accept that things will inevitably go wrong at some point, and ask yourself deeply, what's the worst case scenario, the worst thing that could possibly happen if you decide to go for it? Is that outcome really that scary? What is the probability of that outcome? Is that an acceptable risk? More than likely, you will find out that the worst case scenario is not as dreadful as you might have imagined. And the outcome that you should fear the most is ending up in the retirement village with poopy pants, with a bunch of unrealized dreams. So that means fear is an illusion, and it goes away with actions. What we fear doing most is what we need doing most.
Anything you want good, you can have. So claim it. Work hard to get it. When you get it, reach back. Pull someone else up. Each one, teach one. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.